Good to go? Okay. Welcome, everybody, to the monthly meeting as well as the annual meeting for the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments. And we do begin today with our annual meeting. And counting heads here, I believe we have a quorum, so let's go ahead and call ourselves to order. We do like to begin with some introductions. I didn't know if we wanted to do that now or... Sure. I would like to start off by introducing everybody to the new mayor of Manitou Springs, Nicole Nicoletta. I tell you how gratifying it is to know that such a capable and dedicated public servant will be stepping into the mayor's office out in Manitou. And obviously she is now chosen to be a new board member here. So good luck on the learning curve around here. It takes a while. Don't think you need to know everything right away. I've been around about 8-10 years, and I've got maybe a 75-80% understanding of what really goes on around here. So with that, let's go ahead and do some introductions around the table. Rob, why don't you get us started? So,
Rob McDonald with PPACG.
Neil Levy, Mayor Woodland Park. I've got one thing before I move on. I've got to tell this to Andy and the city council people. Just a small story I had at my restaurant in Colorado Springs. On New Year's Eve, my power goes out. So I'm there about 10 o'clock. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have a mic.
I'm sure we're going to...
Yeah, we want this in a minute, so I'm sure. Because it's positive, it really is. So my power goes out, I call the guys at CSU, and about 1 o'clock they show up. A guy tells me I got a transformer out. I said, I got a full house at 5 o'clock. I can't even look at my reservations. He said, don't worry, we'll get it done. 3 o'clock, 3 bucket trucks show up. This on New Year's Day in the middle of the afternoon. 3 bucket trucks, 4 guys, totally professional. Could not have done a better job. 5 o'clock, they were out of there. So congratulations, you got a great bunch. I know you don't hear it enough. I'm in the service business too, and so I get it. But great job. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, appreciate you again.
You bet.
Pass that on.
Thank you, Neil.
You bet.
I'm Jill Gabler from the City of Colorado Springs.
I'm Darrell Glenn, El Paso County Commissioner.
Mark Twalaby, Park County.
Stephen Slade, Streeter Air Force Base.
Ken Olson, representing Air Force Academy.
Rich Birchfield, representing Colonel Doug Chess out of Peterson Air Force Base.
Nicole Nicoletta, Manitou Springs.
Turner Smith from Rama.
Sharon Thompson, Fountain. Sally Clark, El Paso County Commissioner.
Bill Murray, City of Colorado Springs.
Tyler Stevens, Green Mountain Falls.
Norm Steen, Teller County.
And Vico City, Colorado Springs.
and I'm Mark Snyder, the outgoing mayor and outgoing chair of this august organization. So thank you all for being here. So we have a quorum, as we said, so we can jump right into the election of officers for the Board of Directors. And I first want to thank everybody that served on the nominating committee, putting together a slate of potential candidates for our executive committee. And I didn't know if you all had elected a spokesperson, or I think we all have your recommendations from the nominating committee.
I do, and I was, but I will have to find them in my packet. Rob, are they on?
Should be a separate packet for the annual meeting.
It's a separate packet? I'm sorry. Mark, you caught me off guard.
I'm sorry, Sally.
Jacqueline is soon approaching.
It's on screen.
On screen. There you go, right there.
Yeah, I don't have my binoculars. Thank you. I'm sorry. Oh, it's item 2. I have it here. I just don't know where.
They made a recommendation.
Okay, thank you
Only if there's
for
any other nominations.
Jacqueline for saving me. So, obviously, in accordance with our policy for selecting board officers, we took applications. The nominating committee actually had a conference call, and we discussed the various board officers. You have in your packets the current board officers, of which our chair, Mark Snyder, is rotating off. So as a result, the recommendation based on a number of factors, including regular attendance at the meetings, was also a consideration. And so we have recommended as a proposed slate, again, that can be changed, or nominations can be taken from the floor for other positions. But we have proposed a slate of Andy Pico from the City of Colorado Springs as chair, Norm Steen from Teller County as first vice chair, Jill Gabler from the City of Colorado Springs as second vice chair, Dennis Heisey from El Paso County as treasurer, and Tyler Stevens from Green Mountain Falls as secretary. That's the slate as proposed, and if it's appropriate, Mr. Chair, I will make a motion to approve the slate as presented, and then certainly we could take other nominations from the floor should anyone else be interested. So I would ask for a second to my motion.
Second. Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you again to all the nominating committee members. It's not a grueling job, but nevertheless a very important one, and we really appreciate you all taking the time to vet through that and propose this slate. Thank you for your second. So at this time, it would be appropriate if anybody would like to make any nominations for any of these office positions from the floor. This would be the time to do so. Anybody wishing to make any nominations from the floor? Well, I'm not seeing or hearing anyone.
I move nominations be closed.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Thank you. And then we do have a motion and a second to elect the nominating committee slate of officers. So
I would move that the nominating committee slate of officers be elected by acclamation.
okay, now those big words. By acclamation, that mean we don't vote on it, or
No, we can vote on it.
that was my intent. Since we had a motion in a second, can't teach an old dog new tricks. So with that, if there's any further discussion, if not, then let's vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Thank you, and congratulations to all the officers. I did notice, it must be in the bylaw somewhere, that Tyler Stevens has to be on the executive committee in some capacity. So really appreciate your continued service. How long have you been sitting around this table?
Probably since about, Rob help me.
Since the table was upstairs.
Yeah,
I was
that's
not
The
sure
table
that
was
far, but-
upstairs.
That's right. It's probably 2002, 4, something. Well, various committees since '96, but on the board,
I think
probably.
2002.
Yeah, 2002.
Well,
or so.
and if I might,
Please.
Mr. Chair, I would add that we looked at diversity from the different areas of PPACG and from different aspects. And so I also wanted to welcome Jill Gabler to the executive committee. I think she'll do a great job, and she's shown that she is a regular attendee, so that's very important.
Thank you, County Commissioner.
Well, and I point that out, Tyler, because you
Besides
were...
being the only woman now on the executive committee.
I didn't
There's a
notice
diversity
that.
thing there, so.
But, Tyler, I remember you were here when I first arrived as a backup from R.C. Morrison, and I've always considered you somewhat of a mentor to
Well,
me.
thank you.
You've been really helpful in helping me get up to speed here over the years, and just thought I should point out, and so many folks, I know Sally and Dennis and others have served in various capacities for also for a long period of time. But you seem to be the one constant, at least in my time serving here with this board.
Thank you,
So
appreciate that. And I think that I'm probably getting towards halfway understanding what we're doing here.
I probably overstated my 75% understanding, but, okay. Well, thank you all. So moving on to item 3, appointment of board members. First, we have the Statewide Transportation Advisory Committee, STAC. And let's see here. So, Rob, we have quite a list of alternates here listed. So help me through this.
Sure. In your packet is the current list of board-approved membership representing you all to the STAC. And you have all sorts of backups. There's 5 listed. The goal today is to either reaffirm the list or modify the list, however you'd like to go. I think the goal is to make sure we have someone at the STAC meeting to represent our interests. And so far, that's been done for about 20 years now. But now I think the folks that do represent you have been to most every meeting. And And so today's action is to appoint or reaffirm the current list.
Well, and Norm, I know that,
Mark, I'd like to say that Norm's done a great job up there, and I really appreciate his attentiveness, and you got right on board and got right in the groove of things. And, you know, being from the transportation industry, I think that helped, and so I think he's got a great perspective, and I think he should keep doing it.
thank you. I agree. I know Norm has really jumped right into that position, and I think it's a testament to how important we find our stack representative to be, that I don't think many positions have a fourth alternate like we have here, but I think it just shows you how important it is that we have somebody representing us at these stack meetings. A lot of important things happen up there, and I know there's been some talk at organizing up at CDOT as far as what role the stack has as far as advising the board, but you guys do a great job up there for us, and we really appreciate it. And I didn't see Mayor Dominguez here today, and I did try to gauge his interest in being the first alternate. Has he ever contact anybody? And
I did not reach him either, so.
yeah. Okay, well, given that we have 4 alternates, we should be able to field somebody ready to go up and attend those meetings. It's not just a monthly meeting, and there are a couple more.
Well, there's a lot of, there is certainly the monthly meeting, but just the connections you establish there, kind of, there are follow-on meetings sometimes, the afternoon of stack, and then behind-the-scenes work for items on the agenda, so you're right, it's not exactly just the meeting itself.
Yeah, good. So I knew there was more involved than just going up there once a month. And so we do have a slate of, with Norm being our primary representative and the alternates being Mayor Dominguez, Councilman Pico, Executive Director Rob McDonald, and Transportation Director Craig Casper. Does anybody have any other thoughts on representation on the stack? Anybody they'd like to propose for one of these positions?
Mr. Chairman, I would move approval and recommend that we vote by acclamation.
I'd second that.
Because I know how you like that word.
Yeah, well, I don't have my pocket
Sounds very
dictionary.
official.
Thank you for the motion and the second. Is there any further discussion? If not, then let's go ahead and vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. And thank you all again for your willingness to serve
Not a
on
nay
this
for
staff.
Were you just being, saucy there?
All right, our next item is item 3B. Similarly, opportunity to appoint someone to represent us on the Regional Coalition for Strategic Federal Action. And Tyler, I know you've been doing some of that representing for us, and Rob, I think you attend their meetings on a regular basis also?
Trying to get more regular, but occasionally. We have pretty good representation now. I think Tyler, you're primary, and Commissioner Dennis Heisey, secondary.
Thank you.
I think Dennis represents El Paso County, doesn't he? I think
don't
on
have
that,
their
on the
list.
coalition, he's our formal, and I believe that will be, I'm sorry for interrupting.
Oh, no, please.
He will, since he's not here, I'll just sort of speak for Dennis. We will do our organizational meeting, I believe, next week, and that will be formally approved from our Board of County Commissioners. So he'll be our ongoing representative, and then I regularly attend those meetings as well when I can. So.
And I think Dennis's role has been helping to chair this transportation subcommittee as well. So that's where the muddiness comes in with the representation. So with his regular attendance and representation there, he oftentimes does help represent PPACG, as does Sally and the others. So,
We're all in this together. So, I don't see any problem wearing 2 hats in a representation like this if Dennis is the primary for the county and also serves to represent us. So, Rob, what would you, are we going to vote on a primary and an alternate, or what was your thinking?
That has been the tradition. So the board would like to continue that tradition. Great. If you want to do like the stack and have all sorts of alternates, you can do that too. But I think the board is well represented on that. So I'd recommend a primary and an alternate.
And Dennis has been the alternate for us?
I think he serves in that role. I don't know if we formally designated him last year. But if he's not here, maybe you could do that.
And I guess, my question, if I may, would be, would someone else like to be the alternate, since Dennis is already serving and will be serving as the primary for El Paso County?
Commissioner Clark, are you interested in being the alternate since you're already tenured?
I mean, I can, if you'd like me to do that. I do kind of follow some national issues, so it's probably a good idea.
Yes, you do. Starting to see a really nice synergy there between some of your NACO responsibilities. NACO, Nacho?
NACO. That would be NACO. NACO would be the boards of health, so that's a little bit different, but it's
Right.
not NACO, it's NACO. But different organization, but close.
How do I nominate her to be the alternate?
You could make a motion to nominate Tyler as our primary and Commissioner Clark as our secondary representative.
That's what I just did.
If anyone else is interested.
Is anybody, before we go ahead and vote, is anybody else interested in putting in for one of these positions? Certainly don't want to leave anybody out if they have an interest. And Sally, I guess you already know the schedule, so you
Yeah,
know.
I already,
I was going to have Tyler maybe explain
I
to
just
folks.
worked my
what
way
the-
in, so.
Well, it's a great organization. I know I started as a little bit of a skeptic when we first gathered, I think, 10 organizations to put in $10,000 apiece to create a federal lobbying presence for us. And I've come around full circle. I thought our report from Stephanie Finley a month or two ago was very informative, and some great work is happening. Well, to the degree that it can happen in Washington, D.C., we seem to be getting a lot of attention for our investment there. So, any further comments?
Is there anything else we can sign Dennis up for while he's not here?
We have a long history.
We'll wait until this afternoon, there's another meeting, so, yeah,
There you go.
I would suspect that.
But it's an excellent point. You know, nominating people in absentia is a long-standing tradition around here. So you miss a meeting, you never know where you're going to end up.
Hence why I have strong attendance.
And yet you still get appointed.
All right, so with that, if there's no further discussion, let's go ahead and call the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Great, thank you, and thank you
And
both
thank
for
you.
your willingness to serve.
Yeah, that's-
And then finally, we have a relatively new position with the Joint Land Use Study Policy Committee. You can give us a little history on that, Rob?
Sure, there's a short history. The Joint Land Use Study is a few months old. One of your actions last month was to set up the committee. And our recommendation from our Department of Defense folks who are managing this grant, they suggested giving it a standing that you all did, and now we're looking to populate the policy committee. And so we've probably got 6 or 7 letters from around the communities thus far. This board has a seat on that policy committee, so we're looking for your selected representative. And some of you represent other jurisdictions, so again, same discussion. Do you want that overlap, or do you want additional individuals to represent that discussion from the regional sense on the Joint Land Use Study? So board's prerogative of one person and maybe a backup?
And who do we have?
Nobody. It's brand new.
Brand new.
So this would be the first representative from this board to the Joint Land Use Study.
I didn't know if any of our military installation representatives had any thoughts on the Joint Land Use Study and the importance of it to our military installations and certainly to our region. I think it's a real opportunity to even further cement what I think is a wonderful relationship we have here between the civilian community and our military installations. So,
They've been naming folks themselves.
yes.
They're
We certainly have our representatives from each of our installations, working very closely with Rob and his folks, too. But we also have to deal with that revolving door, the folks in uniform, where we have to be careful of that, too, so that we don't lose continuity just within house of what we've got here. I think you'll see over the potential longer term, Colonel Slade might be one of those faces you'll see more often than not representing. But certainly when one of us speaks, that would include Rod Chisholm, who I don't think can make it today. There's a lot of great continuity of conversation between us, even if we're not here.
Mr. Chair, I have a suggestion.
Please.
That maybe Commissioner Glenn, in his role, we also have a committee at the county that works with military, and with his military background, that might be, unless there's anyone else who would be interested, I think that that might be a good fit.
You guys have a commissioner down here that needs to be appointed. This is for the PPACG appointment.
For the board.
And I would nominate trustee Turner Smith for that, to represent the town of Rama,
Yes.
represent the small communities in the area.
So is there already,
I was going to be
Daryl,
for ours.
for the commissioner spot? So this is kind of the at-large seat? Yeah, that would be fine.
So we have a nomination of trustee Smith. Is there a second on that nomination? Is anybody-
Second.
Is anybody else interested in serving in this position for the Council of Governments? Trustee Smith, you've been nominated. Are you amenable to serving on this? I think from our brief time here that you have some military background yourself, or
No, sir. I never served, but I have a great appreciation for those that have. My dad was in the Battle of the Bulge. I have an uncle that was killed in Holland. It took 30 years to get his body back. He was a graduate of West Point. He's in Arlington. My son served. But when I was driving truck here in town, I visited all 5 bases on a regular basis, and have a very, very minor idea about what's done at each base. But I would love to serve.
Well, if you're willing to do it, I think that's wonderful. I appreciate it. And again, if anybody else would like to put in for this position, now would be the time. Do you think it's important that we have a alternate on this one?
In front of you, you have the list of the folks that have committed so far. It looks like a lot of this board, at least the membership, will be represented on the committee. But certainly an alternate is always good to have as a backup to make sure the board's discussion is part of the overall regional discussion. So
I would like to correct Fountain's representative will be Council Member Mayor Pro Tem Phil Thomas.
Yep.
He is a military, ex-military, his wife's ex-military, so we figured he kind of spoke the lingo and wouldn't have.
I think that
We did appoint an alternate.
Sure.
Council Member Richard Applegate.
I would be happy to be the alternate if that's acceptable.
Well, I think that would be wonderful. Great fit. Anybody else interested in serving? Wondering if the motion maker would amend their motion to include Councilwoman Gabler as the alternate.
As
The seconder agree with that also? Anybody else? Any final discussions before we vote? Okay, well then, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Great, thank you again, and
Thank
I'm
you.
sure the board will look forward to hearing your reports as this important project moves forward. So at this time, even though it's not on the agenda, I'm going to exercise one of my last opportunities while I still hold the gavel to say a few comments. As I mentioned, I've been hanging around here for quite a while now, pretty much 12 years. I started as Marcy Morrison's backup upstairs and was elected about the same time we voted in the first RTA. And so it's been a time of great change, I think, over the years that I've been honored to be a member of this board. And I've seen a lot of really positive change here. And, I look and I see our military installation representatives here, and I know that not only have we prioritized and really cemented our commitment and how much we appreciate our military members and our installations here. Not just moving them up to non-voting members of the board and moving them to military reports, but you think back to many of the transportation projects that got funded through this organization, and we started some years ago and said, we really need to show our commitment to the military presence here, and so we have been able to prioritize many of the infrastructure and road projects that we do with an eye towards not just showing our appreciation and our support, but also I think it helps when it seems to come around pretty cyclically with BRAC and some of these other efforts to constantly be reviewing our military strength and size, and I think it does help as those decisions are made on a national basis to see that the community is so supportive and so committed. And so I think I'm really proud of what work we've done in that regard. I also look at our relationship with the state and specifically with CDOT, which at times has kind of ebbed and flowed. I think when I first started there was a sense that we somehow were not getting our full allotment of dollars from the state, and those numbers tend to go up and down. But I think what's really been sort of a sea change at the state level is they're really looking for local partners. They're looking for local dollars that they can partner with. And the success of our RTA and the success of the work we do here has really begun to pay dividends for the Pikes Peak region and for the area that we serve, all three counties, El Paso, Teller, and Park. And I think that is the model for the future, and I'm really proud that we seem to have kind of a head start on some of the other regions in Colorado, because we do have local dollars that we're willing to bring to the table to get, the last bit of funding and create a partnership. And so you look at some of the projects that have been on our list for decades, and they're finally being addressed, and I think that is directly related to the commitment that our local community has made towards maintaining and improving our quality of life through infrastructure improvements. And I also want to take the opportunity here to thank Rob and all of the staff members here. I think they do a fabulous job for us. It's interesting. You sit on a lot of different boards and commissions, and this one is somewhat transient in nature, where elected officials, even military representatives, can at a moment's notice be off to some far-flung corner of the world. And I think when you have an organization that has some turnover, and some entities put new people in every year, some will stick out their entire term. But long and short is when you have a board that is moving around some, you become even more reliant on staff to keep the continuity, the institutional history, and to know where all the bones are buried and where the where we are in the 2040 and 2050 transportation plans. It seems so far out, but it's amazing how quickly those times actually come upon you. And I also want to thank my fellow board members here. Every organization's health is dependent upon, being continually improving. And I specifically appreciate Councilwoman Gabler's efforts, and I know Commissioner Clark also, really in trying to institute some reviews and some ways that we can continually improve the work that the staff does down here. And I think we're well on our way to having a more vigorous type of 360 type of review, and being able to make sure that the folks we have are doing the most effective job possible and are accountable to not just to this board, but to all the citizens in this region that rely on us. One of the things I hope to accomplish in my 1 year as chair was to try and get a better recognition for this organization out in the public. Sometimes I think a lot of the work we do is somewhat behind the scenes, doesn't really get a lot of public exposure, and I can't say that we move the ball very much in that regard. But there's always hope and room for improvement, and I really do think that some effort to try and let folks in the community know exactly how the important work that happens here with this board. I also want to thank all the members that serve without any compensation on all of our advisory boards and commissions. They really make our jobs a lot easier here as board members. They vet through some very difficult decisions. It'd be very easy for an organization like this to break down into entities just looking out for themselves. And we've really gotten away from that. This is one place where we kind of set that aside, and we really are just about improving the quality of life in our community. And so they are an essential part of that. And it has been just one of the greatest honors of my life to serve on this board and to serve this last year as chair. So I thank you all. I specifically want to thank Jacqueline and the others who prepare the minutes, who usually take my tongue-tied, pretty much indecipherable comments, and they come out in the minutes looking rather cogent and almost intelligent at times. So, without them, I would be at a loss. So, thank you all very much for the opportunity to serve. Keep up the good work, and you never know. I may be back here standing at the podium railing on you, and some issue coming up in the future. But thank you for the great honor. So thank you very much. And with that, if there is any further business of the annual meeting, not seeing or hearing any, we can adjourn the annual meeting, and it is my honor to turn the gavel over to Councilman Andy Pico, our new chair. Thank you.
And before we jump into the next one, I think we'll take just a couple minutes, and I think you wanted to relocate. Was your expressed desire, or did you want to stay here?
In the interest of time, if
Let's
you
just
wanna
press
soldier
forward.
on,
All right.
that would be great.
We can do that. We'll call us back to order on the regular agenda. We do have the quorum, and we have done introductions, so we have an agenda. Take a motion to approve the agenda if there are any changes.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Recognition of board service. Would like to take the opportunity here. We have a resolution for the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments Board of Directors acknowledging and appreciation of the City of Manitou Springs Mayor Mark Snyder. Whereas the City of Manitou Springs is a member government of the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments, and whereas the City of Manitou Springs has representatives serving on the various committees of the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments, and whereas Mark Snyder, as mayor and council member, has served and represented the City of Manitou Springs on the Board of Directors of the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments since 2008. Long time. And whereas Mark Snyder has served the residents of the City of Manitou Springs and the Pikes Peak region with distinction, and whereas the January 13th Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments Board of Directors meeting will be his final meeting as a member, now be it therefore resolved that the Board of Directors wishes to acknowledge its deepest gratitude to the City of Manitou Springs Mark A. Snyder for his commitment to regional planning and collaboration and for his dedication to the advancement of the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments. Resolved, approved, and adopted by the Board of Directors of the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments this 13th day of January 2016 at Colorado Springs, Colorado. That's resolution. Accept the motion to.
Motion to approve?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations. And I want to add a couple comments. It's been a distinct honor and pleasure, to fly wing on you for the last year, and somehow managed to stumble up here in 2 years, which surprised the heck out of me. It was a few months ago. I was expecting to sit there and fly wing on you for 2 years, and only a few months ago that you just happened to casually mention that you were leaving, and I just kind of had a moment of panic. And it's been an honor. It's been quite instructive to watch your golden oratory smoothly delivered, and I don't know that I can quite match that, but very definitely thanks for everything you've done. Presentation. I have something. There it is. All right.
See Eric with the camera, so that's the cue.
Well,
So is this one of those hidden pictures? You got to find the doobie in there or something? I mean,
See Manitou Springs off to the west.
Make sure that's in the minutes.
thank you all very much.
You don't see Manitou there?
Well, I was looking, but I'm sorry. Oh yeah, sure we are.
With the green fields.
All right. We don't allow that in here. Thank you again. Really appreciate it. Thanks, Norm. you guys are going to continue on with your meeting.
Oh, you don't get to leave
Do we
yet.
get to haze you?
Yeah, we've got, Trustee Stevens, I think, has a few
That's wonderful.
comments.
Thank you very much. That will take a prominent place in my law office as soon as I get the rest of my mayoral stuff filtered in to that office, which looks like a storage room right now. I'll find a nice prominent place. It's very nice. Thank you.
Well, Mayor Snyder, I just wanted to thank you for your service, and as well, thank you for being a terrific neighbor to Green Mountain Falls and seeing you through thick and thin, both seeing the capacity here as a regional decision maker at PPACG and the RTA, as well as seeing you through the emergencies, where running into you during incidents, wearing my firefighter hat and all the other things. It's just been tremendous to see that, and I appreciate your service to the region overall in the UPass area specifically. Thank you.
If I could just jump in here too, Mark. It's been a real pleasure serving the mayor, and governance is a hard thing. You have done exceptionally well. I've been in governance now just my first term, but some of the things that I've seen you do have been a great example for me personally, and just to see your steady hand and seeing people look to you for leadership and the confidence you instill, not only in the business community, but in people who live and build their families here. It's been a great pleasure to work with you. Thank you for your service.
Commissioner Clark?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I said a lot of my comments when I was in Manitou Springs as your new mayor, Nicole Nicoletta, took over. But I think that your participation, it's not easy. I know you don't get paid a lot in Manitou, and to take the responsibility and to be here on a regular basis, as many of those around this table do, for very little pay. It's a part-time job, but you've made it a full-time commitment to be here for PPACG meetings, and that participation is imperative. Appreciate all the work you've done, not only on this board, but at the PPRTA level, as Tyler mentioned, because we've gotten some big projects moving along, no pun there, moving down the road, whether that's the West Side Avenue Action Plan, which I reported to the Manitou Springs City Council last night on, in addition to the fact that there's been the Cimarron and I-25 and Fillmore, but we've looked at the whole region, and we've been able to focus on certain areas that certainly are passions of ours, but also look at the greater good too for the whole county. So thank you, Mark, and I wish you, whatever you do, good luck in the future.
Trustee?
Mark, when I was mayor of Alma, we had an exercise where Montgomery Reservoir collapsed and the water all came down through the town of Alma, and it was a kind of a nightmarish exercise just to go through it in your mind of what was going to happen. And you had to face it as a mayor, and you did it well, and you came out, Manitou Springs is still a nice little town, and it's still in good shape, and being the mayor is I've said it before, I think it's the best job you can get, and I think you'll enjoy it very much. But it can be hell when things go bad, and you stood up to it, and you saw things through, and you did a good job, and we're all proud of you, and thank you very much for serving on this board.
Ms. Kaler?
Mark, I've appreciated serving with you, but more importantly, I think I've appreciated getting to know you. I very much respect your passion for community and your spirit of collaboration, and I very much respect that you honored my voice even when you thought my ideas were coming out of left field or maybe a bit crazy. So thank you, and you're going to be dearly missed.
Anyone else? Okay. You're welcome to remain, and
I think I will assume my position out in the audience and begin preparing my remarks. But thank you all for all your kind words and for this lovely parting gift, shall we say. And it's been a real pleasure. Keep up the good work.
okay, the next item up is a recognition, staff service of Jacqueline Hewitt. I say that right? Hewitt, yeah.
She'll correct the minutes. to make
She'll
it
correct
perfect.
them.
Yeah, as she's coming up, really, Jacqueline, this is a 5-year service award. And Jacqueline is on our admin team, not just to provide the great food that you all get and keep the minutes clean. She also does a lot more. She runs a few other committees to make sure they are running smoothly. Certainly, beyond minutes, it's agenda, and putting that packet together is a lot of work to make it look very seamless, especially electronically. Seems like that's always a trick to get done. But Jacqueline also peeks into all your agendas for your local governments to look for things that are relevant to the regional discussion. So that's an invaluable service that, certainly for me, and I know the program managers, but it helps just make us aware of what's going on in the 3-county region. It's a huge region, and you all talk about a large variety of things. Some things she looks at and just passes by and wishes you well on those agenda items, but they don't really transcend up to the regional level. She also helps out with our website to make sure that as it's proofed and looked at, to make sure that it's conveying the right information. As you all are aware, we've rebuilt our website with Erica and Rachel and Jacqueline to make sure it's continuing to be updated. There was just so much information. It's good to clean it out now and again, but this time it was a little bit of a fire drill to get it cleaned. But it's being reset, and I think it looks great. So hopefully you all use that. So I really wanted to thank Jacqueline for 5 years of service, and she even helped us out before she was official here. She worked for a different temp agency and helped us out. Got to know us and apparently liked it enough, so she stuck around. So Jacqueline, thank you for 5 years.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I'd just like to say that it's been my pleasure to work here at PPACG and to learn more about the needs of our community. And I think it's safe to say I was pretty clueless when I started working here about the role that PPACG plays in the community. So it's been very educational, and it's been great to form relationships in the community and to have great coworkers. And so it's been my pleasure. I've enjoyed it. Thank you. And I'm really thrilled to have a part of what you do every month here and to see the acts of regionalism and you all coming together. And I'm looking out for the best needs of the community. So thank you.
Seems like that there's often a staff member that kind of makes it seem homey and nice to come to when you come to a meeting. You're always here, and you're always smiling, you're quiet, but you're there for people. And she actually brought up an issue up at Kite Lake, that she was up at Kite Lake a few weeks ago, or a few months ago, and she brought it up to me and talked to me about it, and we're looking at it. So she gets around our region a little bit, too. So thank you, Jacqueline.
Thank you.
And we have a small token here.
Oh, thank you very much.
Sally, invite you under the banner.
Okay. Thanks, Sally.
Sally's got it in the center.
Okay.
That looks good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
She helps make this all look so easy.
Yes.
She does.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the next up is public comments, topics not on the current agenda. So opportunity for the public to weigh in on anything of their mind.
Not a public, but I would like to ask a question, if I might.
Yes, Commissioner?
And I haven't been at all of our meetings either, but one of the important things of representation here is our Transportation Commissioner, and I'm just wondering, I don't know if Nolan Schreiner has been here at any of the meetings, but if we could maybe do, as the new chair, Councilmember Pico, if we could do some more outreach to make sure that we know, unless Nolan's here and I don't see him.
He's
but
not hiding here today.
I just think I know that in the past, we've had generally our transportation commissioner here to kind of give an update, and I'm just not sure whether he understands the importance of being at these meetings. So just a
Well,
question, and maybe
he
you've
does.
already had those conversations.
Yeah, he's been to the last two, I think, right?
He's been at least to one. He was at our workshop Friday for
Okay.
2 hours. He said that he had some schedule conflicts. I think one of the commission meetings actually sometimes meets on our Wednesday, their workshops, and I think that was the other meeting. But he's, certainly aware, and he got 2 hours of information last Friday as part of the workshop.
Okay. So just thought I'd bring that up, and so it's just really important. So I just didn't know if additional outreach needed to be done.
Well, we'll definitely stay engaged.
And I did ask Mark to join us at the table since Karen's not here, and because I think it's important that our CDOT rep is also at the table. So thank you.
Very much so. Okay, we have, next up is the consent items. Items acted on the whole, unless anyone wants to call anything off consent.
I'd like to call up 5 Echo E for separate vote, please.
Okay, call 5 Echo. Any others? Any items from the community? Anybody want to bring anything off? So at this time, I entertain a motion to approve the consent.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
Can I call off 5, I'm sorry, 5 Echo?
Same one.
We just did.
Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
Move approval with the exception of 5E.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so the consent items are done. Bring 5 Echo.
Yeah, 5 Echo is consideration of tip amendment number 10. Normally, this is an action item. I thought it'd be appropriate just to discuss the little bit background on it. Maybe someone from staff can give us a little history and
Yeah.
the action, please.
Yeah, first, the overview. Usually, we put on consent tip amendments that don't have any real issues with them. There's background on this one that I think Mountain Metro Transit is here. It's their amendment. I would invite them to come talk some of the details. But from a staff perspective, and that's why usually we'll put occasional ones, maybe one a year, maybe one every 2 years on your consent. This one basically is having, and there's a new table, I think, in the packet, and I don't know if it made the table, but it's on screen. So thank you, Jacqueline. Mysteriously, she works behind the scenes. The change is really, as you can see, just instead of 3 vehicles being replaced, it's up to 3 vehicles. So minor change, but I know Mountain Metro Transit's here, and I'll invite them to maybe provide additional background.
Okay. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you. Good morning. Brian Vituli, City of Colorado Springs, Mountain Metro Transit. As Rob said, this is just a very minor wording change. We have other sources for the purchase of vehicles, and the way the project description was worded, it's not quite accurate because 3 vehicles, well, 1 vehicle costs about $440,000. So this will get us 2 vehicles and part of a 3rd vehicle, but we'll use additional dollars to get the 3rd vehicle. So it's just a kind of a scope change.
So the dollar amount wouldn't change, but the
Right.
balance from left over after purchase of 2 vehicles would be used how?
Toward the 3rd vehicle.
Toward
So
third
we'll
vehicle,
use
use
the
other funds.
$875,000 for
Okay.
as much as we can get, and then use other funds for the 3rd vehicle.
First 13 seats. First 13 seats.
The
First, yeah.
front axle and,
Front axle. Yeah.
okay. All right, thank you for the clarification.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of item 5 Echo, tip amendment number 10.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moving on, we have CDOT reports up front.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. I'm Mark Andrew with CDOT. I'll just briefly go through some of the construction projects and then give you an idea of what we're working on for the next round of projects. Cimarron, I'm going to pass around an update. I'll get to that once we can pass that around, but or everybody receives that. Just a brief summary on the ramp projects. The three that we had in the area were Cimarron Interchange, Old Ranch Road, and Fillmore Interchange. Old Ranch is essentially done, open to traffic. We've got some sealant that we need to do next summer. Other than that, the project is essentially done. The Fillmore Interchange, again, is ahead of schedule. We think we can finish that by late spring. We've got the second bridge nearly completed, and we'll be switching traffic onto that soon. So some good news on that. We think we'll get that one done ahead of schedule. Cimarron is what I'm passing out right now, is on schedule. And I'm not going to go into a lot of details on the handout, but on the second page, there's some discussion on the phasing. And as many of you are aware, we have not really impacted traffic as of yet, because we're really in what we call our phase 0, which really is zero impacts to traffic. Soon we'll be switching traffic over to a new alignment this spring, mainly to the west, as we prepare for more mainline construction. So that'll be our phase 1 switch this spring. And again, that's on the second page of this handout. And that's going to help us with a few things. We'll be able to go ahead and remove the old cloverleaf ramp that exists now and redirect traffic to the new southbound off-ramp, which will be northwest of the interchange. So the off-ramp for southbound will be in a different location. It'll also help us construct the southbound on-ramp, and then as well as the approaches for the new bridge for future southbound. So essentially, we move traffic over to the west with that phase 1. So the contractor, again, is working well with CDOT, and we're on schedule. Things are going well. I think we're partnering well with some of the key stakeholders, and we're trying to keep our communication improved or updated as much as we can to the local community to discuss what impacts we'll see, especially with businesses and traffic and recreational users of the trails out there. So Cimarron, I think, is moving down the road fairly well. So those are our three ramp projects. We finished most of the resurfacing in the area this year. The State Highway 16 Powers Boulevard, South Powers Boulevard overlay down near Fountain is not done. We'll have to come back this spring and finish that. That's a fairly minor amount of work. We've got to do one more lift of asphalt. And then a couple studies that we're working on. The US 24 East PEL study, which is a planning and environmental linkage study, which will kind of springboard us into an EA process on US 24 East, is kicking off this winter. And then the other big study that I know is of interest to this board is the I-25 North Monument to C-470 PEL study. And that's mainly being driven by Region 1, our sister region to the north. We do have representation on that with that group. So Leslie Mace with our staff will be assisting Region 1 to develop that document, and also to encourage progress on that, because I know there's some interest from this board to see that environmental document done and eventually some projects funded for I-25 North, whether they be a managed lane project or what that future looks like. So some encouraging news on that, those two studies. A couple awards that we had recently. The Rainbow Falls Bridge bids were open. We knew we were going to be short with funds. I think we had expressed that in the last meeting, and indeed we were. We tried to do some changes to the design to try to lower that cost, but we just couldn't do it. But with that said, we do have some additional bridge asset management funds that will be added to that project to make that bid whole. So we're moving forward with that construction this fall or spring. And then the other one is the Powers Widening Project that goes from Fountain down to up to Peterson Air Force Base entrance. We'll widen Powers to 6 lanes. That one is under construction. You'll start to see some groundbreaking out there in the next month or two. Just an update on Karen Rowe, our director. As many of you know, Karen underwent a surgery to move a non-cancerous tumor in her brain. It was pretty sizable, and although most of those surgeries, what I've been told, are fairly simple, the recovery, on the other hand, was very, very tough for her. But with that said, she is starting to make a recovery and come back to work. She's working about 2 hours a day right now. We expect her to, she thinks she'll be able to come back maybe 4 hours a day in a couple weeks, and then maybe by the end of the month, maybe full-time. We'll see how that goes. But it's been kind of a tough recovery for her. But good news, I think the surgery went well, and she's on a way to a full recovery. So, and then finally, next month we'll be coming to this board with our 2020 regional priority program plan. Our RPP funds are really very flexible funds, and including that is our faster safety program. We've got some ideas on projects that will complement the current priority list that Rob McDonald has given us. So we'll take a look at that list and see if we can program some money to try to get some of those priorities on the shelf. So a little hoarse this morning. So that is, I'll be meeting with PPACG staff here. We'll go over that list before we introduce that to the boards. So look for that next month in terms of the little bit of RPP and faster safety that we'll get to get those projects moving. So that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, there was a lot of good news. A little surprised to hear brain surgery being simple. Very glad to hear.
Yeah, I think because it was non-cancerous and it was close to the surface, they said it was going to be fairly easy to take out. I think again, it was, but still brain surgery out.
We send our thoughts for a quick recovery, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's in our prayers, Commissioner.
Yeah, just a couple of things, Mark. On the I-25 Cimarron project, one is, do you expect any restrictions on width or weight on the US 24 corridor during those realignments?
Not any restrictions. We will be narrowing the shoulders in some cases. I think they're going down from, well, I think in some cases we'll have 2-foot shoulders, and then the outside we're looking at maybe 4-foot shoulders with breakdown areas.
Okay.
Potentially. But it's not a long segment through there, so I don't think we're going to have any concerns with that. But with that said, one of the tasks is to make sure that if we do have incidents, that we clear those quickly. So
I guess my concern is perhaps over-width permits would still be approved through the segment. We'd have some over-width heading up into the mine in Teller County, so.
yeah, and if we do, we always work through our permits department and notify them if we have restricted widths.
Okay.
I don't think you're going to see anything less than what we have at Fillmore.
Okay. And second is on any updates on landscaping for the I-25 Cimarron project?
Sure, and I know Kathleen was here. Kathleen, you want to give us an update? I know that we are working on trying to encumber that funding from the city on landscaping and contract.
Do I feel another arm twist? This is Kathleen Krager, the Transportation Manager for the city. The City of Colorado Springs is planning on funding landscaping. We have, the state has done part of it in the way of clearing and grubbing, that type of thing. And we will do landscaping. We are looking at doing an independent contract to finish that landscaping when the interchange is nearing completion.
About $2 million, is that the price, or?
Probably about 1.5 million by the time you take clearing and grubbing out.
Okay.
But we are planning on doing the plan that the committee had put together before the design was complete. So it's a very attractive landscaping, hopefully easy to maintain because the city will be maintaining it in the future as well. Not Kentucky bluegrass, but lots of decorative grasses and shrubs, that type of thing.
Well, thanks to you and to our city council, College Springs.
Well, have you noticed that you can actually see Fountain Creek now instead of just seeing all the shrubs and the weeds? That was grubbing. We cleared and grubbed it. So it's
taking out the stuff and grubbing is like grinding up
Is-
the ground?
yeah, pulling it out, pulling the stumps out.
Okay.
So it's that can be the tough part when you have a situation like Fountain Creek.
Mark, Highway 24 going east, when do you envision that being 4-lane out to Woodman there in Falcon?
There's that, we get that question all the time, and it's a good question. Our first step is to get the study on the table, and then figure out logical projects where we can fund it in phases. So one of the phases we're looking at is Dodge Garrett out to Stapleton Road, and as maybe one phase, maybe two. There's no funding identified, but it is on the 10-year capital improvement list. Again, we've been requested to give a list of projects to get on the shelf if we do get additional funding from any funding that might fall out of the sky someday. So it happens. And so what we want to do is concentrate. That's one of our priorities we want to concentrate on. So,
Second question, any faster funds go in that? And I'm asking this question because a lot of people resent faster, and I'm trying to sell it.
well, part of our faster safety program will go towards passing lanes out near Falcon. Now, the exact location we're still working on, but there is funding identified to address that. So some of the faster funds will go to faster safety program. In addition, we replaced the old green through truss that was out there years ago.
Sure.
That was with Bridge Enterprise through our faster program. So those two projects are going on that corridor. And of course, we have other Bridge Enterprise projects that we've done in the past. And we've got other safety projects with our faster safety. Some of the faster safety money has gone into Cimarron, for example, because it was kind of a hodgepodge of funding. So it's been used where we can improve safety, and then, of course, our Bridge Enterprise program is set up for bridges like that truss bridge that needed to be replaced. So it is being spent and used.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item up is the military installation report. Anything from
On behalf of Colonel Chess, I want to throw out a few key dates that are coming up for us. First, tomorrow, on the 14th of Jan, Colonel Chess is going to be hosting the Pikes Peak Area 9/11 commemoration ceremony kickoff meeting, or kickoff planning meeting. This marks the 15th year since the tragic attacks, so this is a milestone, time to remember. We want to get a head start on it, opportunity to get input from the community on who we'd like to invite as guest speakers and such. And so invites went out to civic and military leadership, around the area. So we'll go with this initial planning meeting. We'll get ideas of who that leadership would like to participate on the different committees, if you will, the planning, smaller planning teams, and then you'll start to hear more word about that. but that'll be hosted, the actual event will be hosted out of Peterson. 9/11 falls on the Sunday this coming year, which creates some challenges, so the members who are attending are going to look at, do we do it on that Sunday, or do we pick a different date so we can optimize attendance from the different folks in the area. So more to follow on that. We're going to leave that up to the planning team to figure out what the right date is for that.
Where and when is that tomorrow?
It's going to be out of Peterson. I can follow up with you afterwards. I'll figure out who won. Who,
You may have gotten the invitation, I don't know.
Okay. Second event, people have asked about the next Community Partnership Initiative planning meeting, which will be on the 29th of January. This has been ongoing for 2 years, and basically it's an opportunity through the Air Force channels to partner up with local communities to collaborate, leverage off of each other's resources, save money, time by working together. We have a package that was put together through the city and Peterson as kind of a first step off. It's a joint public works package, saving on de-icer chemicals, things like that. You know, we buy through the city, help their bulk, their prices go down, but we all benefit from it. And we're hoping to see approval from that from D.C. here very soon. And with that, that's a great first step for our community, and we feel it's going to continue to expand. We also have a couple projects with shared medical training for our folks on the bases, working with the folks in the local hospitals. Everyone benefits from that. We also have an internship program with students from Pikes Peak Community College. We offer them an opportunity to get their hands dirty. In one case, working with our civil engineers at Peterson, they get credit for that. And we get a lot of great work out of them. And Schriever and the Academy are looking at that too, so we've got some test cases going, and so far off to a great start. And we hope 2016, with some new leadership that came into place over this last half year, will continue to make strides in a really positive direction, and we'll keep this board up to speed on the successes of that. And again, invites went out to civic and military leadership, and we'll just continue to have meetings 3 to 4 times a year and give an opportunity for the different planning teams to provide us updates. And then the final one, on the 15th of April, we're going to have the 50th anniversary of Cheyenne Mountain. Different than NORAD, but Cheyenne Mountain. And you've got folks like Mr. Addy and other people who will probably be able to help us go over the top with an opportunity to... Pardon me?
What day in April?
15th?
Oh, 15th.
It's Friday.
Tax Day. What did I say?
Tax Day.
It's a Friday, I think.
What was that? Tax Day. Oh, Tax Day, yeah.
Easy to remember that.
So you just drop off your package, come on to Cheyenne Mountain, have a big party.
I love it.
Like, what? I might have been slurring, but you'll hear more about that, but it's going to be a big deal. Literally invites going all the way up to the president, and we'll see how that turns out. So it's something that we are very proud of, and there are members who have worked up there back in the day when they're in uniform. It means a lot to all of us because it's something we all are a part of. So keep your ears and eyes open for that, for invitations and how all that will go out. Those are the big 3 from Colonel Chess.
How old is Cheyenne Mountain? Because I remember going up there when I was like in 6th grade,
Sure. Well,
and I'm 38.
50 years for the mountain itself.
Older than dirt.
That would be a different ballgame, and that was celebrated earlier, previously, a couple years ago. But 50 years, if you will, when we said, okay, the tape is cut and we're open for business. So the actual anniversary is the 20th of April, but due to a concurring event with the Space Symposium, we're picking the 15th, because we can also take advantage of some of the folks from that community who will be here for the symposium. But the community will hear about it, and some of the ideas I don't want to throw out because I don't want people to run out saying, hey, they're going to do this, but it helps when you've got great community partners who are willing to pitch in. And again,
Space Symposium will be at the Broadmoor again?
Yes, sir. So those are our big 3 ticket items, and we'll have more to follow with as the months get closer. That's it. Thanks, sir.
Just a couple things from the Air Force Academy. We're continuing to have meetings with our noise constituency, I'll say. We're having a meeting tomorrow. Local government, PPACG, JLU's team is going to be down there. We'll have quite a few people up at the Air Force Academy. We're bringing out the wing commander from San Antonio, who is in charge of the flying operations via Air Education and Training Command. So we'll have a group and have some meetings tomorrow morning to talk about that. And then the only other topic for the group is that the Superintendent, General Johnson, will be conducting the State of USAFA on the 12th of April, currently scheduled from 09:30 to 1200 hours. And more to follow on that as we get closer, but just as placeholders of That's what, when General Johnson plans to give the state of the academy. Nothing else?
From Shreveport Air Force Base, Colonel Byrd asked me to bring a couple items to the table here. One is, I think we've introduced it once before, but there's a new organization being stood up out at Shreveport Air Force Base, referred to as the Joint Interagency Combined Space Operations Center. They're in what's called Phase 1 experimentation right now, where they're just trying to figure out what that center will do. So talk about the acronym, right? The last thing is a C. It's a center, but it's not really a center yet because it's just folks coming in on kind of like 2-week rotations and doing specific experimentations on how we would fight a war that extends into space. So they're kind of looking at that. So the interesting thing for this group is that we recently, just 2 days ago, hosted a delegation from the National Capital Region, the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. 5 members came out to tour that facility, and they specifically brought questions of what are the biggest challenges right now. And one of those things that they realized that we don't have is a funding stream from DOD to continue that operation into this year. It was kind of a tri-group of folks that ponied up some funds last year to get it started, and they're going back to that group to ask for funds to sustain it this year, and then they're going to work to get it into the funding cycle for fiscal year of 18. But so what does that impact for this community, this region that we live in? What we anticipate is probably an increase in growth at Shreveport Air Force Base of close to 400 individuals within the coming 3 years. So that's quite an impact that we'll look at. The transportation routes out there, Highway 94, 24, Falcon Highway, all those different arteries that feed into our base. So we're also looking into getting to be part of the Joint Land Use Study Program, and Ms. Essing has been phenomenal in helping facilitate our addition to that. We weren't included in the original proposal, but when Colonel Burt heard that we weren't, she said, hey, we have some issues out here as we grow our installation, and so we're looking forward to being part of that and in the coming weeks and months. And then the last thing, similar to the USAFA, we will be having our State of the Base on the 4th of March, which is a Wednesday. The announcement was approved yesterday by the boss, and so those will be going out, invitations. What we anticipate doing there is Colonel Burt recently signed her strategic vision for her next year and a half, where she sees the base going in not only the year and a half, but then trying to chart the course for her successor for the next 5 to 15 years. We invite folks to come out to that State of the Base on the 4th to hear not only that strategic vision, but also give you an opportunity to see what we have on the installation. And we're going to facilitate some tours inside what we call the restricted area, the largest restricted area in this area, and give folks an insight into some of the operations that we do inside there. Most specifically, that you guys probably all understand GPS, right? So we fly GPS satellites out there. The DOD does that and provides that for America, for the nation, for actually the world, right? It's all done by young airmen that some of them are younger than the satellites that are on orbit, believe it or not. But it's an opportunity to come out there, and we're going to give folks a tour inside there and get to see some of those operations and what we do. So we encourage you, when you get those invites, to come on out. I know it appears like it's a long drive when you go from Colorado Springs out there, but it's interesting. Our public affairs officer did a study recently. Not a very technical study. But the distance from the center of Colorado Springs to Shreveport Air Force Base is the same as the distance from the center of Colorado Springs to Manitou Springs. It's the same distance. But it just appears farther because there's nothing on the sides of Highway 94 but wide open prairie. But we do encourage you to come out and enjoy that opportunity on the 4th of March, starting about 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning and going until the tours end about 2 o'clock. So,
Colonel, is there any link between the new operation that you're looking at and what you used to do in Building 1?
no. A little bit different operation. And, so it's really looking at indications and warning of what an adversary might be doing to our assets in space. and what we can do to mitigate those threats. So a little bit different than what was done in Billings. Did I get that wrong?
I thought you said Tuesday, I just wanted to make sure.
Wednesday, my calendar's not up to date.
March 4th is a
No, you're right. No, you had to say, so it's the 2nd of March. It is the Wednesday. It is a Wednesday. It is that week. So I was looking at the wrong month. Thank you for that correction. That is all, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Just circling back on the noise fund, 3 of the members of council got the opportunity to fly on routes in the Cirrus aircraft, so that was very, very helpful, very informative. Everything. And very much enjoyed logging and other things. I still have to find the logbook and type and so forth.
Yeah, nice. If I could, it's been 3 years now since you all invited the military to sit at the table. And that's the time I have been with you all. Seen a few faces change, but on the whole, I wish Mayor Snyder was still here. I'd offer him a thanks, and Commissioner Heisey and all of you, because I was thinking about when we first showed up 3 years ago. We sat here. We were excited to be a part of the team. weren't sure what to do with it, and I don't think the board was sure what to do with us. So we were a bit scattered, and then it just hit me today, and I would thank him. Now we're 6B.
Yeah.
We actually have, we're on the docket, but it really does matter. And we owe you a big thank you for allowing us to truly plug in to what's going on, because I can tell you.
We owe you a big thank you.
Yeah,
But
there you go.
it's a compliment to our city, though, that, there's a golden thread between us now, and this board is certainly one of those venues. And, Steve and I have seen this grow, and just can't offer you enough thanks. And I wish the mayor was here, because, he was part of that took us from, just we'll sit here and listen to some longer discussions on transportation once in a while. But now we truly feel like we're integrated in what y'all are doing. So a big thank you. And if you see him, if you could help us pass on thanks, because he was part of that to make us a number and a letter on the agenda. So thanks. Thank you.
Executive Director's report.
Sure. A few things to highlight. Closing out the discussion with our military partners. Joint land use study, for one. I know Rachel behind you, Angela stepped out. Another piece of that is working on a public communication plan to kind of get the word out of that from the broadest over the 4 counties on down to individual meetings. So you should be seeing that pass across your desk, and that'll be integrated into our joint land use study that's obviously just a couple of months old. One of the other things, changing gears, our Area Agency on Aging, Joe was here, unless he's hiding behind me. They tend to come in, they go in and out. We'll have a report for you next month. We just finished in December the Medicare Part D signups. Folks call in and they get navigated through that system. The numbers in your packet are one set of numbers, and we have another set of numbers, but when we get the final numbers from all the call-ins and on the in-person visits, we'll bring that as a briefing for you for an information item next month. We also have, just in my 30-minute-old goals for next year, one of those is start strategic planning for the agency. Rachel's dropped into a month or so ago into City of Colorado Springs. Their strategic planning process is underway, not concluded, so she sat in on that last meeting. So we'll bring that forward, and if any of the other local governments are doing strategic planning, we'll check in with you. As far as our military installations, we look forward to presentations, maybe after the state of the wing addresses that are coming up. Maybe we'll get a brief after that to this board, maybe spread it out over the months after that. I can bring that up to the Air Chiefs of Staff too. But I think since that'll be prepared, we'd like to hear, I think the board would like to hear that. What's the latest thinking for each of the installations? One of the other things to bring up on the backside, 2 things. First, the staffing update. One of my goals for next year is report a little bit on the health of the agency and the staffing. 38 staff positions. Right now we have four openings. I have interviews all day tomorrow, Friday, to fill Planner 2, and also look at Rich Muzzy's position, the Environmental Program Manager. So
We got probably, for our transportation planning positions, we probably got 20 applications locally and across the country. So we've got those narrowed down to probably top 5 in each of those, and for about a similar number for the environmental program manager. And the last position is the mobility manager, working with our partners to try to make sure that's the right position. We do have applications for it, but we'll be looking to fill that. So we should be fully staffed again probably within the next month, 6 weeks, depending on if we hire someone out of state. May be some relocation time. Last item, our web enhancements. Hopefully, those with devices I can see standing up, you're able to access our website for the packet, other things. I mentioned it last month, but I don't know if Rachel was in the room, and Erica, kudos for her, really working, Jacqueline too, as I mentioned earlier, really getting our website back up. But now it's starting to, as I said earlier, backfill the library and all the really deep dive information that if folks want to read a 1,000-page transportation plan, well, you can do that. Or you can just read the executive summary, that's 12 pages. So your choice of that, but really proud of the work they've done, because not only they changed the platform, but they also changed the web hoster. The web host before kind of had a problem with our websites, had to take us down off of theirs, and so we migrated to another web hosting service. And so far it seems to be working, although I look over and make sure that they're not waving at me saying, no, it just went offline. But I think it's a credit to their dedication to get that knocked out. So that's my report. The rest is in your packet.
I may have missed it. Is there an update on the call center administrator position?
Call center administrator is going to run through Mountain Metro Transit as a temp staff. So it's not quite a PPACG staff, but it is a adjacent staff position to the mobility manager. So that's out there as well. I think we have applications through the temp agency that have come in.
Good morning and congratulations, Mr. Chair, Board of Directors. Jennifer Irvin, El Paso County, but here before you today as the Technical Advisory Chair. Of our 6 items that we had on our agenda, one of them was an action item, which you've already actually acted on yourself, which was the TIP amendment. And I'll just give you a couple items on the other informational items that we heard at our meeting on December 17th, which you also has as informational meetings today. Informational items today. I just want to note on the 27 to 2022 TIP applications, the member governments submitted 19 applications, so I just wanted, and that process will go forward this year. Those applications take a lot of time and effort, so I just want to thank the member governments for submitting those, and I know that we'll have lots of discussions about them later this year. Just the other item that we had, which had a lot of discussion, was the CDOT major investment project list, and that's at the time we met was still draft. Our concern in regards to that list is to make sure that the member jurisdictions and also this board has a good look-see at that list and is able to provide input. In the past, some of these lists have been used for other legislation, and we want to ensure that this board and hopefully your subcommittees also see those lists and have a chance to make recommendations. We also recognize that there's, at the time when it was submitted, that there was not a lot of funding for this area, so we want to make sure that the appropriate amount of funding gets to this area for those important projects. If you have any other questions, our next meeting is January 21st. Thank you.
Maybe just a follow-on comment. This the major projects list has been discussion at STAC for some time. This is the same thing as a development list. This is, as you know, STIP is a 4-year program. As it rotates, it's 6 years. But the development or major project list adds 4 years to the front of that. So these really queues up major projects before they head into the STIP cycle. So a lesser project, I think, because it's still being formulated in the process, but unless projects are queued up in this development or major project segment, there's some question of whether or not to be considered for the STIP. So this is a huge deal, and CDOT staff, senior staff is still evaluating how that process will work and how projects to be considered, whether or not they're included in that development cycle, that's development phase, rather. So big issue, and thanks for staying on it.
Thank you.
Community Advisory Committee report, Jen. Congratulations on yours.
Thank you. Good morning. Jen Ellinger, recently elected chair of the Community Advisory Committee. It's nice to be here. Thank you. We had our meeting on December 30th. It was a pretty straightforward, concise discussion of the topics, mostly informational. We did have some discussion about the FAST program. Actually, we were marveling at the funding mechanisms, but I'm sure you'll see that in a bit. One thing that didn't appear on the agenda is we are going to have a discussion. We appointed, my first act, to appoint a task force to discuss our kind of unbalanced transitions of some of our community members on our committee. So we'll bring that and any changes that are required in the bylaw to you for discussion. Anything else? Thank you.
Good morning, all, and thank you for your new year coming up. We appreciate your service for all of you. I am Joanne Ruth, Regional Advisory Committee. We had our RAC meeting on December the 10th. At that time, the important business was that we had an opportunity to recognize 3 of our members who had served their 6-year possible terms, 2 3-year terms. That was Cheryl Dingwell, who is in residential real estate, specifically working with elders. She does a terrific job, and we've appreciated her information and service with us. Lamont Geetsey, some of you may know him from, he was Department of Park and Recreation, particularly serving seniors. I mean, that was his special interest, and he brought that to our group. We also had Cheryl Sabin, who from the Department of Human Services. She represented them well, and we now appreciate the service of those 3 members. We have 2 new members that we accepted at that meeting, and you have already, they've been forwarded to you. That was Margaret Hunter. She is a nurse from Myron Stratton Home. We are privileged to have a group that is so long represented in our community. It's really a pleasure to have them working with us now on the RAC. We also have Cheryl Snell. She is with the Department of Human Services, the El Paso County, and she works with the Elder Department. So we are pleased to have all of them. We do have a couple of more positions that we are in process of filling, so we will be back with you later as how we can, when we approve them for your action. Are there any questions? No? Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Action items and state legislation overview.
Good morning. Rachel Beck, Policy and Communication Manager. The state legislature opens today, and we're expecting probably the bulk of the bills that will be introduced this session in the next, 24 hours to week or so. And you can expect your first tracker with the bills that we're going to track for you and follow and possibly recommend that you take position on by Friday the 22nd. It should give us enough time to read through all of those, do a little analysis. We do anticipate a number of issues making a reappearance from last session. Things such as the hospital provider fee, that has already generated a lot of discussion, as I'm sure many of you are aware. There's a death with dignity bill that our ombudsmen are following very closely, as well as some health care reform items and some proposals for more transportation funding. We printed out a nice piece that the Gazette did. It's at your places that details what our local delegation sees as priorities for their own bills to be introduced and things they'll support. So you can look through that. And in the meantime, there are 6 bills that have been proposed by interim committees that we've been keeping an eye on. Those were in your packet previously for your review, and we'd like to recommend that the board support all of them today. And last year, Commissioner Heisey had asked a very good question about how do we decide what to recommend that the board support or oppose. And so as part of how we go about making that recommendation to the board, we look at the legislative agendas of partner agencies like Colorado Municipal League and Colorado Counties International, and I know a number of you are very incorporated, number of you, such as Commissioner Steen, are very involved in those organizations. So those guidelines are included in your packet as well for you to take a look at. I'd like to just go over those 6 bills for you quickly. The text was in your packet again today. The first 2 are from the Transportation Legislation Review Committee, and Representative Carver has worked very closely with staff and Commissioner Steen as our staff representative on some of the details of those 2. The first authorizes the statewide Transportation Advisory Committee to advise the Transportation Commission directly. Right now, the language that authorizes that committee only specifies that that advice go to CDOT. And while that's certainly an important role, we think that it's also important to make sure that those lines of communication are open with the commission, particularly because staff and Commissioner Steen have a lot of expertise, spent a lot of time investing in that committee, and we want to make sure that their perspective and our regional input is conveyed directly to the commission. And interrupt me if you have any questions or want to go into any more detail on these at any time. The second transportation-related bill is to do a study that would look at the composition of the Transportation Commission itself, and whether increasing the districts from 11, which is its current composition, to 15, to match those up with the transportation planning regions, of which we are one. And that's another one where staff really feels like that would better align the planning process and open those lines of communication and just make a lot of sense. So we're in support of taking a look at that. Would recommend that the board consider that one as well. Questions or comments on those before I move on to the wildfire bills? Yes, sir.
Did someone say that by going to 15 from 11, it dilutes our representation there, or no?
No, that might. There are concerns about whether it might dilute representation in the Denver metro area, and that's part of the reason that what is being proposed right now is just a study. So that would look at some options for addressing those concerns.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Other questions?
Yeah, the comment on Denver is that they currently have, I think, 4 commissioners representing the Denver metro area, but still only 1 MPO, DRCOG. So they would go from 4 reps to 1. And you're going to see some serious pushback from Denver Metro on that bill. You can see why.
There are some ideas, though, on how we could address that.
Exactly. Perhaps by weighting representation on the board, for example, a number of solutions. But, yeah.
All right, the wildfire bills, those are on the second page of your memo, or the text is behind those policy statements. Obviously, that is a huge concern to our area. The first bill would specify that wildfire mitigation codes, either the International Wildfire Mitigation Code or a local substitute that would be determined by counties with public input, would be mandatory for new construction in fire hazard areas. The second one simply changes the wildfire mitigation income tax deduction to a tax credit. A tax deduction reduces taxable income, whereas a tax credit is actually dollar-for-dollar incentive. So that is definitely an improvement in motivating people who live in the wildland-urban interface to go do some of that mitigation work that is voluntary and help them with the costs. Please do. I know this is an area of your expertise.
Well, I don't know if it's expertise, just trial by fire, I guess. Sorry, that was a bad choice of words or good. I don't know. The question about the construction materials, is that is that mandatory, or is that something where it will allow the local jurisdiction to determine if we accept those fire codes or not through and I would assume that maybe that comes through our regional building department rather than maybe through the Board of County Commissioners. I don't know. I'm just asking about that particular bill.
It makes some sort of code mandatory. It is local choice as to what that code would be. So as to building materials, that I imagine would be determined by the local board as to what they thought would be appropriate. So it's just the code part, any code that would be mandatory. And then as to whether it would be regional building or the counties, it specifically mentions the counties in the bills, but I will double check that.
Well, regional building, frankly, we adopt the regional building codes, so they go through regional building, but they eventually are adopted by our local agencies, which would be cities, I'm assuming, or counties in this case. I just want to make sure it doesn't take away local control, and so I'm assuming that probably Colorado Municipal League and Colorado counties will weigh in on this, but I just wanted to know whether it still allows for some local control rather than to dictating.
My reading is that it does, even though it mandates a code, the option to use one that is entirely of local, construct, would increase local control.
And I'm sorry, Rachel, who's sponsoring that bill again?
Let me look.
And what bill?
I don't remember.
Number I'm having got my packet here, but
I think it's just the committee for now.
which committee is it in?
Wildfire Matters Review Committee.
Oh, the Wildfire Matters.
Yeah, I don't
Committee.
see a sponsor just yet.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
So it doesn't have even a bill title yet. Okay. What page is that? I'll look. I'll find it in here. I have it in my packet. So, okay. Yeah, I just think we need to keep an eye on that one. And which one? Probably got it in my packet. Oh, it's Terry Carver. I think it says Carver and Mitch Bush. Todd is the Senate sponsor. So
I gave you the wrong one. Sorry. It's this one.
Oh, because the other one was a credit, right? Oh, no, that's transportation. That's the Carver one. I'll look it up. I don't want to take everybody's time on that one. I just think we should keep an eye on that to make sure that it doesn't take away local control of our codes.
Commissioner Clark, thank you for highlighting that, because I think that does need a little further investigation, because there's been a tendency with a more recent trend of the building code approvals to now we are on basically automated approval for the plumbing code and the electrical code. And really we just have the International Building Code in general that has a little bit of local decision-making left in it. So that is slowly creeping in where it is forced down by the state to the local entities. And in our case, it is through regional building that is then promulgated down to the counties and the other member entities.
Well, and we had a real push by a consultant who was working for, in particular, one fire district who was pushing sprinklers for every single home in areas, and Commissioner Steen, you're probably aware of that push because I think that person is now in Teller County. But that, I mean, while that's a nice thought, it's very expensive, and it wouldn't have prevented the wildland fires that we've dealt with. So, you know, it would help an inside house fire, but not really make an impact on wildland. So I think we just need to keep control of our local ordinances, and that would be my comment on that one. So I guess we could monitor it, but suggest maybe local control if it gets out of committee.
Read it real fast. It says that the International Wildlife Urban Interface Code is the standard, and that it offers comparative local government may adopt and enforce a substitute code, but the standard, that's comparable. The baseline they're enacting is the International Wildland Urban Interface Code. So you have the standard, and then you can build up from it, but you can't build lower than that. So if that's what the question is, that's what it says. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
In support of what Sally was saying, I trust us to be able to react locally quicker than nationally. And we know our own situation best. So I would not want to give that right away to DC.
I wouldn't even want to give it away to the state because.
Or the
I
state,
don't even want to
yeah.
give it away to the state
Yeah.
because what Fountain needs for wildland majors is vastly different from what Black Forest needs in wildlife majors, and there isn't a one-size-fits-all for a community.
We haven't had a forest fire in Rama for a while.
Well, that's good, but wildland fire is different than forest fire.
You get grass fires, though.
We have grass
you
fires.
get grass fires. Right. I do think the credit, though, if we're taking input, the tax credit, I think, is a great idea, because one of the things that we've had, and that is Carver, I think, that's the one that Terry Carver's sponsoring, we've had a real difficulty getting individuals, and any of us that live in or have those areas in our districts know how important that individual mitigation is that they don't necessarily want to do. So maybe the tax credit is a good incentive for that.
Last two on the list concern broadcast burns and grants that can be made to allow local jurisdictions to use, or the Forest Service to use those broadcast burns as a mitigation tool.
Okay, this is an action item that we would approve our support for these, but I'm hearing you probably want a caveat for one of them.
There is a caveat to all of them, too, and that would be that since we are presenting these to you right now as the text that the committee's made public, that, of course, if you decide to support any of these, we would only formalize that if the bill text, the formal bill text is the same.
Yeah, but I'm also reading from the comments here that we probably want to have a little bit of input on that one.
And I would imagine CML and CCI will start up, I don't know what CML does, but
28th.
Colorado counties will start our meetings here soon.
January.
And that would probably come before which committee, Norm?
Which one?
The wildfire stuff.
Probably,
Public lands
rural
or?
affairs, probably ag and
Oh,
rural
rural
affairs.
and ag, yeah.
Ag, yeah.
And I think Dennis serves on that one,
Yeah,
Dennis
no, no, no.
Heisey, yeah. So, but we can bring it up with Colorado
I
counties.
don't know where CML, when does CML start reviewing legislation? Do you know? Anybody know? Yeah.
I was gonna say,
Well,
there
we
is-
started back in August, but in terms of actually watching language, that's another matter. But,
Yeah.
yeah, sure, I'm hesitant to move to support any, I mean, we don't have language yet. We don't know what we're supporting, so I would move the table to next month
And
for
take-
action on this one.
Take it back to our respective boards, I think.
Is it necessary that we need to take an action here, Rachel, this month?
Not necessarily. Since we only see you once a month, we kind of wanted to get a jump on things and start
Sure.
get moving with the items that we did know were on the table.
Yeah, we have several alternatives.
Yeah, suggestion, I think the board typically takes a default position to monitor. So when our legislative tracker comes out on the 22nd, most likely you'll see monitor of these bills. And then after we read the first 150 bills, we may have others on there to monitor and bring back to you in February. Usually there's a lot of reading going on the first few months than the frantic activity in the last month or 6 weeks of the session.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, there's probably 500 or 600 bills are going to be introduced in the next few months. And what, are we asking to whether or not these move into the list of bills that we watch? Is that-
Yeah, that's our general request is if you have support, monitor, or oppose any of the bills that, as written by the committees. What I'm hearing around the table is monitor all of these. And then once the bill drops, as soon as today, we'll bring it back, and you'll see it in the tracker. We'll put out the first one on the 22nd. So it's just about 10 days from now.
I would almost go one step further and look at the two transportation bills that were submitted and be move for support by this board of those as concept, and unless they vary dramatically, I think the concepts that I've seen thus far
We have
are
language for
strong.
those too, so
Yeah.
I agree.
But the other ones hold off on and monitor until we learn further.
Do I make that a motion?
I would amend my motion to that effect.
Second. That's a great motion. Support the transportation, the two transportation bills, monitor the others.
The wildfire credit, I have no problem.
Yes, Andy. Does the motion maker?
Do we have language in the welfare? I mean, I have not.
The language on all those wildfire bills have been in your last few packets, so they are behind the transportation bills. There's also a link to them in your electronic version.
And with Rachel's caveat that it won't change dramatically.
And if they change, there'll be new bills that we'll introduce to the board.
So the amended motion is to support the two transportation bills and the wildfire mitigation income tax credit.
Correct.
And to monitor the remaining three.
And I would offer another friendly amendment to take action for each respective boards to review this, so each governmental entity can weigh in on that and come back with a recommendation. Because we typically talk about things here, but when it comes to policy direction, you need to take it back to your respective board and weigh that. That's the most frustrating part of this whole process, is we don't spend enough time at our respective bodies taking a position at that level and then advocating that position here.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I think you've restated it. Any other further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Before we go through the information, I'm going to take about 5 minutes.
Since you didn't
Congratulations, you're doing a
big earth rodeo star. Oh, yeah, he's going to be a big one. Or a politician, one of the two. But, I think our presenter's around.
Okay, let's try and drift back into business here. Item 8A, the Transportation Improvement Program Amendment Number 9.
Thank you. You bet.
And so do we have a...
That's coming up.
That's coming up, okay.
Good morning, everybody. Scott Phillips, Transportation Planner with Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments. Item 8A is just an information item for the board. This was an administrative amendment to the TIP for the project referenced as the 24 West Corridor project that incorporates sediment removal from the catch basin along the Wellington Gulch. This is an addition of $25,000 in regional priority program funds. And also, this is just want to point out, this is also a partnership project with the Coalition for the Upper South Platte, which is great for the region, and it's nice to see the partnership take place. The amendment was signed by the Transportation Director at Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments on December 7th, and it's been incorporated into the TIP, and this is for your information to let you guys know that this action was taken.
Okay.
Any questions?
Thanks, Scott. Any questions?
Just one, the item on Craig's memo, December 7th, indicates that another $309,000 is going to be addressed at a future date.
Yes, it is.
That's the intersection for Powers and 24?
I believe it is, yes.
That's all right. It'll be coming up on a future.
On a future amendment, yes.
Okay.
Okay. Great, thank you. Next item is the TIP application status for 17 to 22.
Yes. We received applications, 19 applications for the 2017 through 2022 TIP, 19 applications, total applications, funds that were requested totaled $57.559 million. Projects incorporated included pedestrian trail improvements, safety, bridge replacements, as well as transit enhancements. We will be moving forward with the scoring of these projects, bringing that information through our committees, and then hopefully in the next couple of months to the board here for approval of the projects being selected.
Thank you. Any questions, comments?
Can you remind me what the, little, on this, where the phases are? What are the,
Okay.
the CON, PE,
Sure.
ROW, what the?
Sure. The PE is it's engineering, planning, design. ROW is right away. That could be right away acquisition. It could be moving utilities on the right of way. And CON is for the construction phase. That's actually a shovel hits the dirt.
I got that one.
Yeah. So.
All right, thank you.
We're going to start a jar for any acronyms, too.
We can be here all day, and that actually might pay
We'd
for
fund
a
a new
project or
project
two.
on that one.
Yeah.
The PE was throwing me. Okay, planning and engineering. That worked.
Okay.
All right.
And next item is 8C. You bringing that one in, too?
Sure. Federal regs require that we that the region's MPO publish a annual report of the federal obligations of federal funds that were expended or spent in the region. The item 8C is our federal fiscal year 2015 obligation report. The report was actually the information, the attachments are actually provided by CDOT. We are, again, the verbiage or the short report that is accompanies it just identifies items within the report and gives an explanation of what and why we're doing this. If you look just real briefly, 2015, we had $27.747 million obligated in the region or spent on transportation projects. $1.27 million of that was for invested in non-motorized projects. That also includes the design phase for some projects. PPACG was also provided $40,000 in FTA funds, $5,304, was spent in the region. As noted, we haven't received the FTA funding report as to date, and that will be brought to you and added at a future date when it's received.
Okay.
Sure.
And do we track how well we execute these programs?
That's where we're moving. That's
Okay.
where we're getting to. In the very near future, we'll be bringing you updates with regards to our existing program projects with an update where they are in the process for this federal fiscal year.
Okay, great. Any other questions, comments? Next item, 8D, the CDOT CDOT Draft Major Investment Project List.
They probably need an acronym with that. I'll take that.
Probably need that one, yeah.
Craig's out in D.C. He speaks to Transportation Research Board, the big transportation conference every year. I think he has 3 or 4 presentations on some of the things that he does around here. So he leaves me with his items. Luckily, I understand the items. As our review. This one, we talked a little earlier. I know Jennifer from the Transportation Committee talked, and I know CDOT talked about it too as far as list of projects. When Mark talked about the list we gave him at the workshop last Friday, it's the board-approved list. Your next $900 million in priorities, you approved that, I believe it was in October. And so you know from your long-range plan what the next couple hundred or 900 million you'd use if the money fell out of the sky, whether it's a new acronym from D.C. or maybe out of the state capitol. There'll be $700-800 million that lands on the legislative desk that transportation may get a share of. So you've got your list. In your packet, you have CDOT's, it's I think a one iteration prior list of what CDOT has across the state, their list of priority projects. One of the things that we talked staff-wise with CDOT, including last Friday, and also for the board here, is when they put a list together, we would suggest CDOT add their corridors that they've cleared environmentally. In this region, it's Powers Boulevard or State Highway 21, I-25, the rest of that proposed action in the environmental clearance document, as well as Highway 24 West. About $350 million is the cost of CDOT's proposed action in their environmental clearance document. We would suggest to CDOT they put those in. I think the total is probably $1.5 to $2 billion that we would suggest through our committees and back to this board when the next iteration of the statewide list comes out. As you see in your packet right now, it's an $8 billion list, and for our members of STAC and for us, that's completely unfunded right now. So we don't know where an $8 billion fall out of the sky is going to come from. We can speculate, as you heard Rachel talk about, the hospital fee. If that goes to an enterprise, that could free up, as I said, $700–800 million. Is that all for transportation? Yeah, we probably could do a side pool on whether transportation gets all of that or some of that. So our board usually has a list ready. You do have a list ready. And so we just wanted to update you on that. I know there's CDOT folks here may want to weigh in on that. Maybe they have a new list. But as the new list comes out, we'll send it through the committees and back to the board. And if there's new money available, we're anticipating that'll be a discussion here as well. Because we don't anticipate $900 million coming to this board, but traditionally if $50 to $100 million show up, then the board runs through the committee, talks about what are the best projects for that. Is it a safety project? Is it capacity? Is it maintenance? The other thing we put in your packet is kind of, again, the iteration at least one ago. We looked at how much money goes to each of the CDOT regions, how much to transit, and then for the Pikes Peak region, based on the highlighted projects, you can see it's about $193 million out of $8 billion that would come to this region. And it's just what the list is, and we, as I said, we anticipate the list will change based on funding, priorities, and I think in the packet we have the STAC presentation CDOT gave to say what are those considerations to get on a list, any list. So that's where we stand today. No big windfall coming anytime soon, but if there is, I think the board's well positioned to select from that list that you approved a couple months ago.
Thanks, Rob. And we did meet Friday, and lists and more lists. It seems like we're always being asked for lists, and sometimes they don't match up. But I think the real intent is for CDOT is to fund your priorities first. I mean, if money fell out of the sky, I guess I can assure you that we'll have those projects that are on your list ready, or at least try to be ready to go. So our intent really is to honor your list, but with that said, we're always being requested to give a list. What if we got this amount of money? What would that list look like? To complicate things, we did get that request prior to the October list, and so we're trying to catch up to the current list that you have here, the $700 million list, or $900 million list. So it will change. It will reflect what your priorities are here. And so I guess be rest assured that, we want to be in line with PPACG in terms of priorities. So.
Yes, Trustee Turner.
Mark, when you say you want to have those projects ready to go, how far do you do any planning and engineering? Do you do any right-of-way acquisition? When you say you're ready to go, are you already in that stage at that point?
We're halfway there in terms of the environmental clearance, which is a big part of it. A lot of these projects, some do have right-of-way cleared, but they're not far enough along to be considered shelf-ready. What we consider shelf-ready is, can we deliver the project within 6 months? And so we're not in a position yet for projects on this list to have anything eligible within 6 months. There may be one project that may be a year out, for example, research and powers. I think we have all the right-of-way except one little piece that we need to get, and a 30% design. So it's not a 6-month shelf project. It could be a year shelf project. So that's one of the things we want to look at is we'll take this list from PPACG and we'll try to find some funding in the 2020 plan or what we currently have in the STIP to be able to address some of those projects that we could get shelf-ready in the next few years. So there's no exact timetable on when we could get those ready, but that's going to be the ongoing discussion.
Rob?
Yeah, I just wanted to emphasize something that Mark said was really important. When you all do your TIP approval in the next 4 to 5 months, that's where you start allocating money toward possibly getting those ready to go. Do the preliminary engineering of a project on the list. You're not going to do $1.5 billion. Remember what Scott just said. There's 3 times the money that's been applied for than you have to allocate through the TIP in those transportation improvement program. I'll stay away from acronyms. So in that program, you're going to start programming years 2020, 2021, and 2022. So it's a few years from now. But it lets CDOT, if those are the projects that you select, move ahead with 1 or 2 of those, or phases of 1 or 2 of those. But the project funding also comes for your local projects. So your staffs have already submitted those 19 applications that are not all CDOT projects. So I just wanted to tie that because in the next few months, you'll be deciding what projects are going to move forward.
Okay. Next item is the federal FAST law overview.
I've got that too, since Craig's out in D.C., not collecting any FAST money. I don't think anyone is. What we put in the packet is really an overview of the big numbers of the billions of dollars. You'll note it goes 2015 through 2020. I just said your TIP is going through 2022. So we'll straight line, we'll extrapolate, we'll guess the last 2 years of the Transportation Improvement Program based on this. This is the federal law. It's in place. We also gave you the analysis that different national organizations put forth. I think you've got in your packet one from, you've got the NACO, AMP, the National Association of Counties. You have the Association of Metropolitan Planning Organizations, our MPOs. And so those in there, they're given, I think Transportation for America had the most creative wording. They had it the good, the bad, the ugly, as far as what they think the new law, the 1,300 pages, means. I know CDOT folks are here too. Everyone's looking at it to see what are those implications. Our bottom line so far is when we look at our next long-range plan and we look at our 6-year transportation improvement program, our estimate is funding is about plus 1%. You're not going to do billions of dollars with a plus 1%. We do about $100 million a year. So if it adds about $1 million a year, that's great. But statewide, CDOT is going to get a windfall in the freight world. That's been a huge push by this legislation. Thank you. And so what we'll work with our federal partners, certainly with CDOT partners. How does that translate into resource allocation? And you remember our resource allocation in the plan? There's like 30 categories. Mark mentioned earlier RPP, or Regional Priority Program. Is that $38 million a year going to stay at $38 million? Your guess is as good as theirs and ours. So as we decipher the federal language, decipher the priorities, see how the rules get written by Federal Highways, Federal Transit, comes through CDOT, we'll report back through committees and on up to the board. What does it actually mean? But I think our bottom line is how much money in the TIP, which means how many more projects can you all put forth, whether they're trail projects, transit, bridges, safety, freight, if we have some of those. So that's our overview. I'm happy to take some of the questions.
Mr. Chair.
Just one question. Could you spend a moment and align the timing for me? Just educate on, with the bill being signed in December, what's the anticipation of having some of those answers, and which fiscal years will that hit, and what have you?
Yeah, it starts with 15. It's now. The state fiscal year is into 16, I think, already, because they start July 1. Feds start October 1, so we're in that fiscal year already. So the rules, it's not quite building an airplane while you're flying it, but they are deciding, trying to paint it or see if there's a place to land.
That's right.
So the federal legislation, the rules are going to come out incrementally. As they have certain components are well known, things that haven't changed. But if they're saying now it's more like a block grant for this one or two funding categories, well, what does that mean? Does that run through the states to the planning regions, to the MPOs, the metropolitan planning organizations? How is that going to work? So some of it we think we know, it's the same story, but some of the newer things, we're not sure. We can guess, but we're looking at the national organizations, we're looking at the states, we're looking at our peer groups, and then we'll look at it with your local staff at the committee level to see what does it mean when they say this in the law, because all you can do now is interpret the law. Until the rules and regs come out from the federal agency, and everyone has an interpretation, so that's be the process. Last federal law, the rules came out, I think, 6 months after the law expired. So there was a little glitch in that. So as I said, we're doing a lot of reading, as all of your local staffs are and CDOT's doing, to try to figure out what it means. But our first one is, what does it mean for funding program prioritization? Because we can read the law and say, well, freight is getting a huge push. In this neck of the woods, freight is not a big deal here. We don't have big rail hubs. We don't have big truck hubs. We have some smaller things, but does that include, other things like fuel and pipelines? So as we dig deep, we'll report back through committees and on up to the board. But if you see anything in your circles too, and I know, for Commissioner Clark at NACO, a great summary they did. But you're going to hear things, and if you can share those, that'd be really helpful, because there's NACO experts that are probably already read the 1,300 pages.
Yeah.
Mr. Clark?
They did.
Good luck to them.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, I did pass out, we printed out a two-sider that just talks about, it's from Jessica Monahan, who's our Associate Legislative Director for Transportation at National Association of Counties, about how the FAST Act would affect Colorado. I did want to point out, just so you know, the Transportation for America is a nonprofit organization that would have preferred to see almost all of transportation in a block grant format. We are not in favor of that. League of Cities, Conference of Mayors, National Governors Association, everyone said, no, we don't want block grants. We don't have to want to compete for those grants. So that's why we supported an alternative, which is the FAST Act. So just keep in mind when you read anything from Transportation for America, they've got their agenda, and it's not necessarily aligned with local and state government. So be kind of aware of that. My favorite point probably is the crazy growth in the STP funding for the Colorado Springs urbanized area, from $7.3 million under the last year of MAP 21, which was the previous bill, to $9 million under the final year of the FAST Act. So the STP dollars will be significant for us, and it's long-term 5-year funding that we can really plan on going ahead. And there have been some disagreements about how it was funded, but it did get funded through conference committee that came together. It was funny. I think the Senate had the DRIVE Act, and the House had the STIR Act, or whatever the heck it was called at the time. I think the Senate must have better acronym writers. But anyway, it did come out as the FAST Act, which is kind of cute, too. So at least it's easier than figuring out what MAP 21 stands for. So there's a little bit of information there. I know we'll be getting more over the coming months. As Rob said, the actual analysis comes out as to what it looks like. But a lot has been restored, too, in our off-system bridges, which has been really important, because under MAP 21, we had seen a 30% decrease in our off-system bridges. And if you look at the information that Jessica provided for us from NACO, in terms of off-system bridges, and we have, Colorado has 3,866 off-system bridges, and then 4,685 on-system bridges. So that's going to be really significant for us to restore some of those bridge dollars that we need. And that's really all I have. I just wanted to make sure that you received this memo and just kind of took the analysis from Transportation for America into context with who they're pushing for. So
That's at least 4 or 5 national agendas.
30 seconds, can somebody explain the difference between an off and an on bridge?
off-system would be your local bridges, the ones that are not on,
Right.
basically, I don't know, Mark, if you want to jump in there, or Rob, in terms of, it's the local bridges.
Right,
Versus
County and state-owned bridges.
non-state, federal bridges.
Right, I think that's it. It's-
Okay, so like a bridge over to somebody's driveway or?
No.
Well, no, not private, but public bridges.
Yeah, I think the 2 categories that I think are changing a little bit. It used to be on and off the state highway system, but I think the new legislation talks about National Highway System, NHS. And so I haven't read the detail, but it could be that's the system that you're either on or off. If you say state highways, you look for the sign and say, hey, I get that. National Highway System go beyond state highways. And so the biggest one in this region is probably Woodman Road. It's on the National Highway System. Big road crosses state highways, but it's not a state highway. So there's a small nuance in there. But for now, if you go with state highways, that's on or off. And
Make it simple, that's all.
yeah,
Make it simple.
off-system means local government bridges can be built.
Thank you.
Okay. My own comment when I looked at the offsets of how they funded this was, that's some interesting, creative financing, and we'll see how well that actually works out.
I also have the PowerPoint that came from a webinar that NACO held that I could certainly get to you, Rob, so you have that. I had provided it to the county commissioners a few weeks ago, so.
That would be helpful. Anyone who's done the analysis on 1,300 pages?
Yeah.
And, yeah, there'll be a conference committee on all the different analysis. But
Kind of like reading healthcare law, huh?
Oh,
no
Will
thanks.
that be posted on the website, the blurb, not 1,350 pages, but the two-liners?
Yeah, I think
When you get it from Sally, is it?
Yeah, we'll share that with the board and put it on our website. So you have the summary statements, and there'll be probably more that come in, and people start to interpret what the law means and when, different triggers. So as we get that, we'll, as I said, run it through the committees and on up to the board. And share it through our website as well.
okay. And let's see. Stack.
Yeah, just a quick update. The staff has not met since we last met. We combined the November and December meetings into one, so our last meeting was on December 4th, just a week before we had our December meeting. So the staff does meet the last Friday of each month. And just a reminder, this is a two-way conversation. So if this board has guidance for me to message that you want me to convey to the commissioner or to CDOT staff, let me know. We do a TPR MPO update from the regions around the state as one of the first items on the agenda each meeting. So if there are items of concern to you, even projects, policy issues, direction you'd like to see CDOT or the region take, I'd be happy to convey that message up for you. So I want to be your spokesman because I am a stack representative. So I'm carrying your message. Secondly, these meetings are generally 3 hours long. So for me to decide what you'd like to know is kind of my, I'm picking from a fruit bar. So if there's issues that are of particular interest to you, you'd like more information on coming back each month, let me know because I'd be glad to give more information. We're all busy here, but if you'd like me to focus on something for reporting, let me know that as well. The next meeting is Friday, January 29th. I do my very best to attend every single one. Andy is almost most of them, almost all of them. And then staff too. So we are well represented there. A big part of what PPACG is transportation, and I call live and breathe that. So this is a big issue, and I want to make sure that I'm representing you well. So either catch me at a meeting, or let's sit down for coffee sometime and let me know what's of concern to you. So I have nothing else to report for the last STAC meeting.
And rolling into the end here, member entity announcements. If anyone has any? Yes, Commissioner Glenn.
Just two things that I'm working real closely with the Air Force Academy on, especially the Santa Fe Trail. We are working on that. Very optimistic about coming up with a plan on managing some of the security requirements, but also being able to eventually provide access. So we're close to that. And also, we mentioned the airplane noise. We are talking about that community meeting tomorrow. So just want to keep everybody in the loop. Optimistic, but we still have some ways to go.
Any other announcements? Okay, we have the meeting schedule at the back of your packet. Any questions, comments? And no other business? Seeing none, we are adjourned.
Done before 11:30. I'll let Mark know. It can be done.
Good job getting us out of here, Andy.
See? Accolades already. You're 1 for 1.
You don't necessarily
It's
want
really
to go
not too
above
bad.
the mayor, though. I think Commissioner saw.